singing a coma. Gum, 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 gum. The way you drop it, make a situation gum, gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And it ain't run, don't make me wanna gum, gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. When you drop it, make a situation gum, gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And it ain't run, don't make me wanna gum, gum.
Just about 19 minutes past 8 on this Tuesday morning. KK with Comcom. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Mix. The Dream Team is back. More Maria, more Neville.
Moro.
Self-acclaimed.
Yes. Don't throw me off like that. Yes. So far it's been a quite interesting morning. Neville has been so quiet when it comes to flu or coronavirus or whatever it is that he picked up from Lord knows where.
Is that why this
it's
aircon?
That's why it's
man,
off.
don't crack
You know what I said when he came, he was standing at the door. Please switch off the aircon.
Maria, I'm telling you, since Sunday night, I was... Yeah, it was during the time when this Kobe Bryant news broke. I'm sitting in front of the TV and just feel very woozy. I'm like, why am I feeling like this? So yesterday throughout the whole day was just like, let me just go with the flow. Last night I slept very, very little. But I so much wanted just to come and do the show this morning. I think I'll probably bounce around 10 o'clock. I'll just need to go and get into bed.
Oh, nice. This Kobe news really affected a lot of people, eh?
It's
serious.
Speaking of, there was the issue. I don't know where the post originated from, but it started trending at some point.
I think I know what you want to say.
Yeah, me as well.
Somebody complaining about how people are wishing, expressing their condolences for Kobe Bryant, when there are people who are also dying in Namibia that were not.
It's not the only post.
Condolences.
A lot of people were actually posting something along those lines. People decided to be the morality police.
But then,
morality police.
Here's the thing.
Who made you the minister of mourning?
Yeah.
I understand. I understand if you have an issue, right? Then why not just post your condolences to the person you want to post your condolences to? Why take issue with what other people are doing on their social media? It
was weird, right? Because I was reading these comments. I'm like, are you really trying to police who people should mourn and shouldn't mourn? And I think I even read some things about, some of you...
it's a Tamagotchi.
Something about... you wouldn't even mourn like that, your parents or what. And people don't understand how mourning works. It's who you relate to. Some of Kobe to some people was a hero. They grew up watching him. They are. I don't even really watch basketball, but even I was like really touched by the news. Yeah. So. Let's stop. It's getting boring. There's also kids dying in Afghanistan and Iran and Angola and Ethiopia and all over the world. Must we now not mourn anybody outside our borders?
Yeah. Yes, of course. There are a lot of ways to look at this. One of the most interesting comments was like, imagine you lose a family member, people are wishing you condolences, and then somebody comes to scold them out. It's like, why are you wishing that person condolences and not that person?
Don't you have people dying in your own country?
Yes, it's just crazy.
And again, I think the most laughable one, I think with every celebrity passing on, you always have that one WhatsApp that comes through. It's always like last night. It's always no. Waar is Kobe se lekwa kuka?
What is the lekwa?
The wake.
Memorial service in Miami.
or then the people that try to be funny, like, so Kobe was the boxer, né? Like, you just I call them clout chasers. You just there's a time and place for everything.
True.
Actually, it's a perfect little discussion. It leads us into what we want to talk about this morning, which is freedom of speech. Yeah. Right? I'm sort of allowed to wish condolences to who I want to wish condolences to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without the morality police.
I guess every morning
standing over you.
I can open up my Facebook by, just saying condolences to everybody who ever lived and died.
Exactly.
And almost lost that money. Okay, so Freedom of speech. I was thinking about this last night, and I was thinking personally, I haven't had too many instances where I felt like my freedom to speak was sort of being
gagged.
Yes, like I was being gagged. But then again, also, we are conditioned to sort of conform.
Thanks, Maria.
If you get what I mean. I know that's not me. Today, that's not me.
Who is it? There's only one Tamagotchi in this.
And it doesn't
belong
belong to any of us except you.
No, I don't have a Tamagotchi anymore. You want me to show you my phone?
Yeah, show it.
I got a sugar mama creo. We don't play. Yeah, but like I was saying, so in a lot of instances, you are taught to conform. You're not necessarily, you're not being gagged, but you know automatically, but that if I do this or if I say this,
here's a no-go.
Yeah, this is a no-go, that is a no-go. So it kind of raises the question, do we then really have freedom of speech?
Yeah.
Can you really say, speak your mind without fear of victimization, basically?
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form?
I think all freedom of speech has to come with a level of accountability and respect for those around you. So yes, you can say it's fear, but for me, it's also... I think we always have to I think it's important to filter what you say.
Yeah.
Because if we went around saying everything that came in our minds, we would be living in a very problematic society.
How so?
Because some opinions are actually very violent and dangerous.
Okay, look, yes, I understand. If
you say, yeah, shoot, if somebody pisses you, you go outside and start shooting everybody that pisses you off. Let's say it's an opinion. Like it's what you're thinking, and you put
like
it out
you
there.
should shoot. But that's, what do they call it? Hate speech.
Yes, hate speech, but it's also people that when they're told hate speech, they counter and say, no, it's freedom of expression. It's how I feel.
I'm allowed to speak.
Yes, and hate speech is what you're exactly saying. We're putting some limitations to what is acceptable and not acceptable, and that is a functioning society.
Yeah.
Because all freedom of expression, even in media, because we know we want to be able to have like free press, right? But there has to be a level of responsibility with that freedom, as all things.
Yes. Look, I understand that, right? Like, because it reminds me of a comment that I think Mr. Ndeitunga made about insulting people on social media.
Yeah,
I mean, I would agree with him. You can't just go around insulting other people. But then, if you have valid opinions on things, even if it's going to ruffle a few feathers, you should be able to express those without fear of being stopped by the Kalahari.
For instance, and here's an example that we can chew on. For instance, I met this woman on Saturday in one of the local malls here. She's a student at NUST.
You didn't have to go there, Mas. You could have just said she's a student at a tertiary institution.
No, NUST. I mean, I wouldn't say her name.
Yes,
there's a broad
the university
spectrum
formerly known as Polytech.
yeah. And I'm speaking to her, and she's telling me that she listens to our show on a daily basis, and she likes the freedom of speech on our show, etc., etc. And she says, you know what, Neville, here's the thing. I'm busy doing a thesis at the moment on 2019. Very significant year on our social and political, economic calendar, if you might say. We're supposed to be doing a thesis on the fish rot and on the 2019 election campaign. Now, never my fear that I have at this moment in time is that if I say what I want to say in my thesis about the fish rot 6, about the elections, I don't know if I can trust my lecturer. I said, why can't you trust your lecturer? I said, I'm telling you now, there are certain lecturers that we just don't trust when it comes to our political views in society. So and I asked her, so you're going to write something that you don't actually believe in exactly? She says, yeah, because I'm not too sure if I can trust the the moderator or the professor
Yeah.
or whoever.
Is this going to come back to bite me? Once I get my degree, am I going to get a job? Or am I
Exactly.
going to be frozen out?
Because I believe this
Because
is
the
what
police
Josie
is
said. I don't know if you remember Josie. I don't know. Josie, she does a lot of events, etc.
Yeah.
And she was having this altercation with Lazarus Jacobs, I think in an auditorium where they were talking about corruption. And she had very, very strong views about corruption. And I think she posted after that, I think my views, and she's a UNAM student, I don't know if my views will actually, like you do say, cause me not to have a career going forward. What are the economic repercussions if you do say what you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said, like, it's like all things. Like, every action has a consequence. The consequence is not always desirable. The consequence can always be unfair. It's not always fair or just. But yeah, we don't live in isolation. We live in a society. And yeah, these are sometimes the things you have to consider. It's not fair by any means. Listen to what I'm saying, but it's what it is, unfortunately.
But the one thing that springs to mind now, it's like in some of these instances, it's not necessarily a legal problem, but a sort of a societal problem.
Yeah.
Because, legally, your rights to speak your mind are sort of protected, but that means the people who are enforcing these laws. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. One of my previous jobs, right after my interview, I'll never forget, he told me straight to my face, you know what, you can support, it does not matter what party you support.
Yeah.
For us, it does not matter. You can support whatever party you support, political party.
Yeah.
But as long as it's not SWAPO, you cannot wear that party's colors here at work.
Ne? Yo. Okay.
So it's like, no, you can support your people, just don't come flaunt it here.
Yeah.
Unless it's the ruling party. Now, that is not necessarily an instruction that came from the SWAPO headquarters. That might have been just that manager who decided, you know what, Ek as van SWAPO off. It could have been any party for that matter.
Yeah.
And I would probably still feel, but I am being restricted from expressing myself freely, expressing my support for whoever it is I want to support. Why are you smiling with a white guy?
Because he might help me to get an agricultural tender. I don't know who it is. I'm just...
So you just smile with random white guys.
Never know. Get that land.
Guys, for instance, on how many WhatsApp groups are you?
So this was Janie.
My Tamagotchi does not take WhatsApp, please.
I'm on my own work-related stuff.
Okay, now for some of us, who are normal, unlike the two of you, who are in different WhatsApp groups, guys, I would, especially the last 6 months of the year, everybody had diverse views about the president, about Itula, about SWAPO, about the Fish Road 6, etc. For instance, you have like 30 people on one WhatsApp group. You got 5 Itula supporters, you got 5 AR supporters, you have 10 SWAPO members, you have 5 guys who know the guys of Fish Road 6. I'm even on a group now of people who know Isabella Dos Santos, who says to us, hey, but you guys, those are our personal friends. You can't talk about Isabella like that. Now, you have this quagmire of friends, just this, this pot of friends that, and you're not too sure, okay, there's a minister on this WhatsApp group. If I say what I want to say about either the president or government, and they know I'm in close proximity to this or to that, will this affect my ability to get this tender or that tender? Because I know that guy who's also in the WhatsApp group, he's part of the tender board of this or that or whatever. So, is that correct? Is that right that you can't say what you want to say because it affects your ability to, to operate in society?
Yeah, unfortunately.
But that's not how.
But that's not right.
Yes, that's not what it should be like.
Yes, right or wrong. It's you don't even have to go far. Even here at this company,
Yes.
you're not gonna go on social media and start blasting your boss. and not have repercussions. You understand?
Okay.
It's just, it's not right, but it's what it is.
Look, that is understandable. Of course, if I'm working for the institution, I sort of have sort of a responsibility to.
No, but prior to us coming on air,
Yes,
we were talking an example of a teacher that's on duty,
Yes.
on camera, blasting basically the ministry for not having textbooks.
Yeah.
Right? Now, as we know, the
Deputy.
ministry has then, the deputy has then come forward and said, no, teachers shouldn't be allowed to, or shouldn't air their political views while on duty. And your first question was, but what's wrong with that? Why not? Right?
Yeah.
But when I give you in the context of Trasco, which is really the same, Trasco is your Minister of Education, your employer, that pays your salary.
Yes.
You are the employee. You are speaking out against Trasco. Like this teacher is speaking out against the Ministry of Education. If you take those same scenarios, why is it, for when it's Trasco, you understand why it would be wrong and should have negative consequences. But when I talk about a teacher, then it's like, no, ma, ukomi. It's the same.
Look, for
but
instance.
the teacher is a public official.
Works for the Ministry of Education.
Yes, which is a public institution, and they have an accountability towards
the public.
And because
every taxpayer in this country.
And because they're a teacher, they've got access or should have access to the director, to the regional director, to the head of department, to eventually the deputy minister, to the PS, to the Minister of Education, right? So there are, just like we say in Trasco, there is line of community. It's not that you can't have complaints. It's that you should go through the channels before making them public or going, like public should be the absolute last resort. In fact, it shouldn't even be a resort. It's the same. If it's a teacher, surely you would think, I'm not saying what he's doing is wrong. I'm planting a seed. Yes, I'm planting a seed.
It's important that we need to have that narrative so that we can open engagement. And now it's good.
Shouldn't that teacher rather than take this first complaint to the head of department, and if nothing, and then to the regional director, and if nothing, and then so you have teacher conferences.
Maybe they went through that process, but like just to get back to the sort of comparison between the two. Okay, maybe on duty you can't be standing in class, for instance, just blurting out your political views because of obviously the influence that you have over the kids who are in your class and stuff in that kind of situation. But then if he's not in the classroom setting, I don't see a problem with him expressing his opinions. I mean, I'm not going to stand here and blast Trasco on Trasco's equipment and during Trasco's time. But if Quinton knew what I said when I was at home, I would have been promoted to top 6.
The difference is the difference is this guy had a camera. So it's bigger than a classroom. It's a whole country audience.
Yeah, but that's now me. I'm posting that to my personal Facebook platform.
That's what I'm saying. It's now. I'm not on his Facebook. I don't know who this man is. I've seen that video. We've all seen that video.
Yeah.
We will probably circulate that video. That's what I'm saying. In a classroom, in fact, it's even more contained than when you put it on a video and put it on social media, because then your audience is no longer a classroom.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's a larger audience.
But look, why I understand why the classroom is problematic is because those people are sort of subsidiaries in some way to him. Like, you know, they fall under his care during that time. He's it's
like, I understand, but I'm saying if I have a complaint, there's a difference between I have a complaint. Let's say I have a problem with Trasco. There's a difference between we get out of the studio and I start complaining. Nah, man, Trasco, just an example, and I complain amongst you. This is a circle of trust, right? If one of you leak, I can also defend and deny, right? Because there's really no way to check on it. Exactly. And quite another, for me to switch on my phone, put it in front of me, record myself, saying what I was saying to you two, but now on video, send it to somebody or put it on my social media. Before you know it, it's circulated. There's quite a difference, and I'm saying that's why you'll find that in the latter, there will be consequence, because then your boss somebody will eventually send it to your boss.
Yes, but like now here's the thing. Like Neville was also alluding to, like the school. That is like a public institution. They have a responsibility, accountability to the public. Like Trasco maybe have accountability to their shareholders, which is not necessarily the general public. This company is not run with my tax money. The school is. So I would like to know if there's something that is impeding the teacher. If the teacher feels like there's something that government or the minister or the principal or whatever is doing, that it's impeding him from actually doing his job and delivering. Because you're going to go tell us like, never teachers, can he even 2 plus 2 tally. Little do you know that guy has zero resources to work with and he's not allowed to say anything. In the meantime, my tax money is just going to fish rod.
Yeah. For instance, we had a situation, I believe, in early December where 2 or 3 ministers did speak out against corruption and the situation with the Fish Rod 6. That was Honorable Minister Leon Jooste. That was Honorable Minister Kalle Schletwein. And Honorable Minister...
No, come Honorable. Just say most the minister.
It's Honorable.
It's just nie so voor your comedy show wat mense for you. You can also say minister.
What's an energy? Sit toch Tom
Alwendo.
And they were
and
berated.
Also Bernard, the doctor,
Haufico.
who's no longer a minister.
Yeah, and they were berated by the president, where the president said, if you don't toe the line, if you have those strong views in public, then please feel free to resign. So the question is now, is there something wrong that the ministers did? Because I think as public officials, they just obviously press the issue even further that there needs to be a higher level sense of accountability when it comes to public funds. I personally don't think that there was something wrong with what the ministers
I don't
did.
think, in fact, in my opinion, I was glad they said it. I think the reason a lot of us had an issue with it. Is
so why did they not toe the line?
This is what I'm trying to get to. I think the reason a lot of people had an issue with it, I didn't necessarily see them criticizing like the president as much as showing their distaste for corruption, which we should all, including the president.
Yeah.
You should hate corruption.
Yeah.
You should hate corruption so much that you want to speak against it.
Yeah.
All right? And that's what I felt they had done. They spoke against the corruption.
Corruption, yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
And then our president, who also says he hates corruption, then had an issue with him speaking out against corruption. It did not reflect it wasn't a good picture.
It doesn't reflect well.
It doesn't reflect well. If we hate the same things, then I should have no problem with you speaking out against that.
But Maria, is this not
look, Neville,
perhaps what the similar thing that this teacher did? Because he's also a public official as much as the ministers.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not saying what the teacher did is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you. Like, I'm trying to give you a scenario of why people can. Because even if it's a public institution, there is, and this is also, again, with the ministers, even if it's a public, they also still have internal policies. You must not forget that. No public institution is run with no policies.
Yes, of course.
So they also have their internal policies, just like the ministers, and perhaps this is where the president said, no, but you have internal policies.
Yeah.
Why are you blasting things on social media when we should be discussing them at this round table and finding solutions on how to tackle corruption? Now you're there, blasting it there, and it looks like now we're not doing our job. I'm not saying it's right. I disagree with it, but I'm saying this is the other argument, the other and understanding that is just what it is. We don't work in isolation.
Something interesting that I'm just thinking of here that I want to ask. So number one, making a statement like that, does that not sort of border on trying to quash freedom of speech? Because what message does that send to anybody else within the ranks who wants to speak out against corruption or some
Sends a
sort
clear
of
message.
Because I think what happened there is, I think if there are any other ministers who have the same sentiments,
yes,
I don't think they would dare speak out going forward.
No.
Yeah, isn't it so?
Yeah. I for instance, guys, and this is a decision that I basically took, and I said to myself, no more. There's no way, and I know you guys are going to poke fun at me now, but there's no way that I will ever do an event again for a political party. As much as I do support or don't support a political party. No, seriously.
As die geld reg is. As die geld reg is.
Maria, let me tell you what happened last year.
The right time of January and that gig comes.
Let me tell you what happened last year. Last year I was doing an event in Warfish Bay for the ruling party. And it was a fundraising event for SWAPO. Now at this particular event we had Memenetumbo Nandine Ndaitwah, she spoke out very strongly against this independent candidacy. Now, at that time, this whole independent candidacy thing was still very much a fog for me. It was like in the middle of the year.
What the hell is this? Yeah.
What is this about? So, and I know after the Ukrainian president, who was a comedian or is a comedian,
Zelensky.
yeah, when he was running, and he had a runaway victory. And I know there was this one time I spoke to the president and I said to the president, a comedian won in Ukraine, so I will be taking you on at the end of the year. So I made fun about the independent candidacy at this Swapo event. Guys, everybody just went quiet because it was like independent candidacy, and I realized there and then how sensitive the issue of independent candidacy was. And I said, no, I'll be an independent candidate. I'm running against Hage Geingob in November. People looked at me like, hey, Bason, you must be very careful
with the statements you make.
Statements you are making here. And then I just realized, you know what, there's so much sensitivity around politics, politicians, that you must be careful what you say in front of them. This can just affect you going forward in some way or the other.
Like, especially when it comes to politics, right? Like, speaking your mind is...
The funny thing is
depends on where you are placed.
They can speak their mind. You know?
What does that mean?
Basically, the Shipuka is like an insect.
An insect?
Yeah, but but Lucy translates like beat the enemy on the head, like the snake on the head. Like.
Sounds like Rwanda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like squash the cockroach.
Cockroach.
Yeah.
So what's the difference here?
That's what I'm saying.
The cockroach. You guys gave that cockroach a Swapo membership card. Let me read some of the comments. Gulo Kalupeteka first comment for today saying Moro Moro.
Moro.
Lucas Kambungo. Matthias, also Moro Moro. Good morning, guys, from Precious Blessing. Morning, guys. Bradley Kubisep. Let me move a bit closer. These are long comment. Mora Mensa, nice topic this morning. Ish, the way the social media and radio stations have given the people to abuse their freedom of speech is just far-fetched, right? The Eagle FM listeners, Hunter Ferjong, heard a few call-ins this morning. Why do we have... Okay, no, first, let me just read the comments. Precious saying, so you guys have created WhatsApp group for everything in Namibia. Yes.
Yeah.
Everything you could possibly think of. Bikes Mwashekele. It's amazing how the acceptable norms, according to those in positions of power, is turning the leaders of tomorrow into chokers and pretenders. All right, even our judicial system has been showing those cracks. If you ask me, I say this: righteousness exalts a nation by shying away from truth for fear of victimization is a reproach. As a reproach, I'm assuming. Mora from Chandra Maton. Mora Angelique Gankos. Hi from cold Saudi Arabia.
Cold Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
The Saudi Arabia get cold?
That's Lea Engelbrecht.
Huh?
Come on, we also get cold.
Even we
here.
get cold.
Yes.
No, but they said not the Middle East.
Yeah, they also get cold.
We are also the
They
Southwest.
just have two seasons, winter and summer.
And is this not the Southwest?
Yeah, it is the Southwest.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't get the
We even have a desert. It gets cold in the desert.
Mora Neville Basson also joined our stream. Nef. Stephanus James Ananias, Mora, you guys really sound censored today.
Censored?
Yeah, Mos.
We try to be uncensored. That's why we're having the discussion.
Nancy Pekaha, what did the teacher do, guys? I'm lost. And Chandra, did it actually, that us actually said that your political views and opinions in Namibia your vooruitgaan kan belemmer.
Is dit wat dit sê? Belemmer.
Ja. Wat beteken belemmer?
It would limit you.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Hey, the Afrikaanse boy. Good morning, guys. What's today's topic again? It's right there in the description. Moro Moro crew. Like, why is it?
Ooh, you so patronizing. It's right there in the description.
Why do we have such a big problem when people's opinions differ from ours? Hoe kom is dit so groot probleem? Even it's like the Kobe thing. People had a problem because I feel like sending my condolences to Kobe and not to somebody else. You have a problem. It's like just because my opinion does not directly align with yours shouldn't be a problem.
Can I say, like, my thing is I have no problem with difference in opinions. That makes for healthy debate, makes for healthy discussions, make for growth. And you never know.
Corporal punishment.
It's good to have an array of views and opinions. So for me, that's not the issue. My issue is, and I know like a lot of people that used to live, especially in the 90s, the world is changing. We can't speak our minds anymore. Even like comedy, as I think even you know for a fact, has changed, right? The jokes you could make 15 years ago.
True.
Are like...
No, you're right.
And I actually prefer a socially conscious / responsible society. I prefer that. I would like that we start. I like the idea of filtering because, like I said, some opinions are dangerous. Some opinions are violent. Some of it can incite violence. Okay. And some of them are very, very oppressive, especially to minority groups. When I talk about minority groups, obviously I talk about the LGBTQ community and others that have been oppressed over the years. Women also sometimes on the other side. We have problematic, for example, sexual violence opinions, that you could just get away with, and that now they will be checked. Somebody will check you. And then you say, but it's my opinion. No, you are entitled to a responsible opinion. And an educated opinion, and not just entitled to any opinion. And I like that. And I said, for me, that's a better functioning society, because ultimately this is also the society my kids are going to grow up with, where they understand that we're a little bit more tolerant of each other. We're not here to oppress each other. And ultimately it's tolerance. And our views should show tolerance for the next person, not tolerance and I'll let you say what you want. I'm saying that level of, you know what, I maybe don't agree with your lifestyle, but it's yours, and as long as it doesn't harm me directly, or then it's fine. And so I'm saying, so I do prefer a more responsible. Somebody will say, well, we don't have, then we don't really have freedom of expression. Yes, if that's what it means, that's what it means, but rather responsible.
For instance, sometimes you would hear, white people whisper. And white people would whisper in society and say, luister, van dat dit mos nou julle is wat hierdie land regeer, we can't even speak our minds anymore. Because back in the day, we could say what we want to say, but there are mos now repercussions. If as die government so opneek soos wat julle opneek, then you bloody people will come and take my bloody farm. So I would rather just be quiet. I will sit in this bloody corner and not say a thing. Okay? Dan weet ons, julle los my uit. Okay?
I was going to use the race, but even for example with race. Back in the days, for example, white people could just say we're lazy. These swart mense is lay. Of julle werkie. Of julle, you understand? It was whatever. Now, you can't get it, because it is like, now we call it hate speech because it's racism, right? But that's a better function. So whisper those opinions. Of course you're going to have them, but don't you dare say them loud, because there will be repercussions.
But you see, that's reminding me of the conversation we had yesterday, like that race conversation. Right. Like for instance, a white person cannot criticize the government without being called
a racist.
Even though we know fully well that what this person is saying is true.
I don't think they can't criticize. I think a lot of times it's how you criticize. It's okay to say the government hasn't done much. And something else to make it a racial thing, like, for example, you say, during apartheid, we were better off than we are now. You see? But you see the difference?
But they were better off during apartheid.
Yeah, the minorities were better off.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what they're talking about. We were better off during apartheid.
But that's already a problem in itself. And this is what I'm trying to say. So there is, if you enjoyed apartheid and you saw yourself better off, there's a level of racism to that comment. So I'm saying it's how a lot of times, we can say the same thing, right? I mean, we can put across the same message, but how you say it and how I say it makes the world of a difference. And this is, again, comes back to responsible opinionating or opining.
Yeah.
It's
Opining,
opining, if you give an opinion. There's responsible opining, and then there is just being an a-hole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, find common balance. Yeah, and find
Maria's pulling out the thesaurus this morning.
it's not that serious.
Knowledge on tenure. Sometimes it is not about what is said, but who is saying it. Right? Some
Yes.
people get away with things, and that's the magic in power.
Yes, that's true.
I know a lot of people have said sometimes in the past, if I come off stage and the president sits there and whoever, obviously always high government officials say, Ish, Neville, you get away with saying things that we can't say in public.
But they're also not comedians, so let me relax.
But you should also understand, you guys alluded to, the fact that you can make some jokes now, or you can't make jokes now that you used to make then. But then also you can make some jokes now that you couldn't make then.
Such as?
Phew, it's
Like after Independence Day, you can make jokes about that.
no, I've done that. I've
No, but
done
that's
that with
you.
impunity for so many years.
Never.
But I don't feel, for instance, Cubase, like,
'n binne gemeenskap van goedere kind daar by Swapo.
okay, like
In
for instance,
community of property.
like for instance now, after what the president said about his ministers, okay, I've not had a gig until now where the president was in,
present.
where he was present, and I could tell jokes about fish rod. You understand? Because whenever I'm on stage, people look at me like Oswald Wur. So I've never been in the midst of the president up until now. But the thing is, 15 years ago, if this thing would have happened, Maria, like with the Lazarus Kandara issue of social security back then, I didn't care. I would speak about it because I know that's what the people want. But now, I know there are sensitivities around the independent candidate, how he ran against the president. If the president is there in front of me, say, yo, Mr. President, that was tough, there. Huh? I don't know if he sits there now, if
He
I
was going
would
to
have...
receive it, yeah.
If I would have the balls to say it now, because I'm like, I'm willing to kwart maak. So,
Ik wil niet met mijn geld spelen.
yeah, even the geld spelen. So it's a little bit different now. But if he's not there, if there are other political figureheads, I don't care. I'll say what I want to say.
Well, will you say something about those political figureheads?
Yeah, I
For,
don't.
for instance, if Essa was sitting in the crowd, would you talk about the fish rod?
If
Or
he
would
would-
you also be like,
Je zei, ouwe, jita, just eet het trong.
I don't think he would be able to show his face in public for the next 10 years.
hey, that's Africa, so you never know.
But yeah, I do think, whatever we do say in public is sort of tied to our economic progress or regress at the moment. That's just how it is at the moment.
Yeah, but just to go, Cubase, you're talking about towing the line, which is fine. I'm not even talking about it. I'm just talking about generally, look at comedy as a whole, right? As a whole industry. There were, for example, years ago, comedians who made name for themselves, just making fun of black women, making fun of gay people, and what's the other popular one? There's one other thing that if you made those type of jokes, guaranteed,
Yeah.
you'll be popular.
Eddie Murphy said he's so ashamed today, after 30 years, that he said stuff about gay people, the stuff that he said back then.
Yes.
And he says he cringes today because Delirious was one of his most popular
And
stand-up
yeah,
shows.
yeah.
And he talked about gay people a lot.
And
a
even
very
Raw,
derogatory
yeah.
way. In Raw.
Yeah.
No, actually Raw.
Yeah, Raw, yes.
Yeah. And he says he doesn't want to watch it anymore because he's different today.
Yeah. And it's what makes you, it's so funny because Raw was one of my favorite comedies.
Yeah.
I remember watching Raw a few years ago, a lot of years ago. And I was laughing. I was on the floor laughing,
Yeah.
teary-eyed. It was the funniest comedy ever.
Yeah.
And I think I watched Raw sometime last year, and it didn't have the
same
same effect. Because what I've grown is socially conscious. Like the jokes I could even me, I include myself. I could make some gay jokes years ago. Like I cringe if I go to my old tweet. I had to deactivate very old Twitter account because some of the stuff I used to tweet about that, yes, people thought were also thought funny and retweeted and laughed with me. Today, if I look at it, I'm just like, oh, did
How
you
could
actually really say this?
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was funny, but it's not funny, you know?
But
So,
why isn't, I mean, comedy is comedy. If your intention is to try and hurt somebody's feelings, then, you know.
no, it's not. Comedy isn't just comedy when it impedes on somebody's livelihood or life or existence. It's like how, let's say, a white comedian is making fun of black
Niggers.
people, niggers, yes, for the purpose of getting laughs out of people. Yes, it's funny for them, but when you listen to it, you're like, this is actually not funny. This is, there's a racial tone to this joke, and it's not funny,
Okay, like maybe I'm just wired differently. I mean, if you're not trying to offend somebody, I don't really care. If you want to make a joke, if it's funny, it's funny. I'll be laughing. Like I make jokes about deaf people all the time.
Yo. I
Thank
always
goodness
try.
you're not a comedian.
I always try to steer clear from any jokes that concentrate on people's physical defects.
Especially disability, people
or
living with disabilities. Yeah.
Oh, I can't talk about fat people, skinny people, Down syndrome people. For instance, these are a few things I just mentioned now.
But then you're trying to say there's something wrong with your condition. You can make fun about me because I have weird eyes or big ears or whatever the situation is, and it's funny. We make fun about it, but then if it's one of what is considered what do they call it? I don't want to say deform, a disability. Then all of us, you're treating the person with kid claps.
Yes, and you have to.
No, you don't have to. You treat them normal. They feel like a normal person.
No, because you need to remember, you're forgetting the historic context. You understand? It's not like if a person with disability, how they've been treated over the years is very different for how an able-bodied person. You have albinos that get killed for just being albinos.
Yes, of course. You have to be sensitive to certain things, but that doesn't mean we cannot talk about you, period, because we are afraid of offending you.
No. I'm not, nobody says don't talk about you, period.
Or don't make jokes about them.
Yes, you have to make responsible jokes.
Yes,
I think when you are able-bodied and there is a level of privilege, sometimes you don't realize that the outside world, like outside you and your privileges and your functioning society, there are people that haven't always received the same type of care and love that you have, for example. Yes. And that those people will be more sensitive to jokes because they grew up with them. And for some point, it stopped. We had a child that was disabled that was buried recently.
Yes.
Off of a disability. There's no way you can tell me that a joke about an able-bodied person and a person with a disability is ever going to have the same effect.
Like, look, mocking somebody with a disability is something different.
This is what he's talking about, right?
But making a joke about somebody with a disability.
What's the difference between mocking and joking?
Yeah, give us an example.
Mocking is, for instance, you remember what Trump was doing with the reporter? That is mocking somebody.
Okay,
but you can. Yes, but you can tell.
There's no difference between.
There's no difference.
Yes, no, but you can tell a joke that involves this disabled person.
Give an example.
Like I said, I always make jokes about deaf people.
Okay, like how? In what sense? Give an example. So let's hear it.
I can say whatever.
An example.
Where are they? Like I want to hear one of them complain. It's not offensive to any deaf person. And we move on.
But he's not deaf. How are you going to say
It's not offensive to any deaf person.
I want to hear them complain about it. That is offensive.
No, it's not. Anyway, freedom of speech, guys. That is the discussion.
That was the discussion.
Talking of comedy, Kevin Hart lost out on his on an opportunity of hosting the Oscars last year due to a homophobic comment.
Homophobic comment.
Yeah.
Comments. It was more than one.
Due to homophobic comments, actually, he made 9 years ago. I can feel for Neville getting up on stage and being out of comedic material because of a sensitive society. Okay? Linda Simi saying good. Tias something. Please, guys, talk about CCTV to be considered in the entire towns of Namibia.
True.
All right, that's maybe something that we can take up. Joshua Hadula, employees in the public sector do have a protected right of free speech. or to free speech. However, the right is limited. If the government employee's speech is part of their official job duties, they can be disciplined or fired for what they say. For instance, if it's a public nurse or doctor that is concerned about our state hospital's condition, do you feel it's unfair for them to express? All right, I'm against such policy. If you're on duty, maybe it is kind of, unfair to be there lamenting while you're in the job.
Yeah, but the difference is this guy came on, for example. It's not even about now. It's no longer an issue of duty and not. The video we're talking about, the teacher in question, he identified himself, said he's a teacher, said at which school he's a teacher. So he could have just been a person opining, but no, he identified himself as a teacher and at which school and so forth. So I think that's the difference as well.
But that's also fine, because you're kind of giving context to your, like the rest of your video. Like, I'm not just speaking from the outside. I'm actually on the inside, and I can tell you guys.
And you are at the school premises, so what's the difference? You are on duty.
Because
school is 8.
Because we had a nurse at Karatura State Hospital who was speaking out about out on the fact that there were no beds, there were no medicine, and once again pointing over to the SWAPO headquarters and say, I mean, just across the street, this is what SWAPO, or I think it's people do see SWAPO and the government basically as one entity.
Understandably.
So and you see, there's nothing going on over here, and I'm a nurse in this hospital, and look what they are busy doing over there. They're busy building a $700-800 million renovations, of the new SWAPO head offices. That's what the nurse says, and we all know, we are privy to this information, that there's no medicine in hospitals. We have Panado. Okay, that's all we have.
Come with a broken leg, you create Panado.
Yeah. So is it right that the nurse must be quiet about it? She works
about there not being medication.
Yeah, I think she has every right to speak about it. Come on, man. I think every doctor has a right to speak out on the fact that if they are if there are limited staff, he doesn't have any manpower around him. If there are restrictions as to who they can employ, if there are graduates out there who can't get into the system, why can't they get into the system?
Because remember,
for instance,
these people are taking abuse daily.
Yes, sister.
Yeah. This, that. And this person is thinking, this is really out of my control. And they cannot sit and still there and just take it.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. Look, I get it. I'm saying, if it was up to me, everybody would be able to like this teacher, like that nurse, like any other person, should be able to go on social media at any point and hold the institutions accountable, even for the ones that they work for, in a functioning society. I think that should be allowed. But I'm just saying, unfortunately, that isn't the society we live in, and everything has a consequence.
So, Maria, I would say I do agree with you that there should be a filter in certain instances of what you do speak about. But I commend anyone out there who has an opinion about, if you have a political opinion, whether it's for or against government, if you have an economic opinion for or against, if you have opinions like that, I personally don't think that it needs to be filtered. Yeah. Say it how you want to say it, because it's your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposedly a grown did say. But just that you don't know poor people or what?
Yeah.
Yes, like I was saying, I mean, you're a grown up. You should be able to know. If you have an opinion in this free and independent democratic Namibia, if you want to say something, you can say it. But you must understand, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you say is going to cause whatever it costs, and it's going to cause the consequences that are going to come back your way, and you should be prepared for them.
I mean, seriously.
What?
Yeah.
There's a cartoon now on my phone about Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashing in 2017.
What?
It's silly. It's social media. It's just
silly, sick. Seriously.
Speaking of cartoons, how about making disabled cartoons? That question, I guess, is for Neville.
Yo. No. That's not. That's not. Cubase can do it. It's fine.
No, we'll have this discussion of it. Maybe we will talk about the whole sensitivity thing on the air another day. But for now, I will begin gaan uitkom.
And now he's censored from here going forward.
Who? Me?
You, yeah.
Censored?
Jy praat nie verder nie.
My broer.
Let the comments keep coming. We would love to hear what's your opinion on it.
Kyk die tyd, ons moet gaan.
Nee, is reg, ons gaan.
Ja.
That's what I'm saying. Have a nice day, guys.
Come on. Cubase, your ringtone, please. Hy nie toch.
Ja, asseblief. Ons is moeg.
My phone only has 2 ring modes. That ringtone and completely quiet, not even vibrating.
We'll go for completely quiet.
You put your phone on completely quiet.
Yeah, we have that option. It's a button. I just put up and down.
Yeah, and also you stay off your phone when you're in the studio.
Also the WhatsApp. Yeah.
No. Now I don't want to go. Okay, we're out of here, guys. I see some comments are still popping up, but we are back tomorrow morning. I actually almost, let the cat out of the bag with regards to our guest on Friday morning. We talk about that tomorrow. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the day right here on Informanté Radio.
I'm going to bed now.
Fridays. The morning mix.